Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
We are a nation in decline.
Experts are preparing for what is known as Disease X, or the next pandemic.
What we are seeing is a revolution against the system.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Rise and Grind with VinceTagliavia, live with you every Monday through Friday at 8:30 a.m. Pacific Time, 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time to discuss the news and events of the day. Today is February 20th, 2024. A beautiful day to be alive. Hope you're all doing well. Thank you for tuning in. And this is exactly what we're going to do. Go through the news for the day. So thank you one and all for joining. And we're going to jump right into things with we're going to start with finance here. I'm going to jump to the chats first. Top of the morning, Forrest, how you doing? And Kai, good morning. Good to see you. Good morning, everyone. Good morning to you. Hope you're doing well. And half the world is night with your coffee ready, hot and ready to go. Let's get into the news. So we're going to start with a little bit of finance here. Take a look at the markets. And yesterday, I had a silly moment. The markets were closed yesterday, and they're open today. So let's look. Good morning, Army Mom. And they're red. So we've got the S&P 500 down 0.6%, the Dow down 0.08%, NASDAQ down 1.19%. Gold is sitting at $2,038.10, up almost 0.7%. Silver, $23.07, still a bargain compared to historical pricing. And Bitcoin is $51,727.25, still above the 50,000 mark, well above it. Thank you, Army Mom. Please hit the like button, follow, share, and support Vince. Thank you so much. Also, guys, please follow me over on X. Here's my handle there. At ReadyF4Any, or you could just search my name, VinceTagliavia. Some of my content too, by the way, if you follow me, if you go to my website and follow me everywhere else, like if you're on Rumble, follow me on Rumble, and you'll get content that I won't be putting on other platforms. So enjoy that. And even more content I'm not even putting on Rumble is going to be on pilled.net for the people over there. So thank you for everyone following me on Pilled. Shout out to y'all. We've got RMU and Quiet Toad and Jennifer tuning in live over there this morning, along with a few others. So thank you so much. And we've got Energy. Good to see you, Gio. Good morning. I miss you, brother. All right. Anyway, let's talk more about this. What's going on? Consumers hit a wall as retail sales plunged to below the level of 2021. 3 years of stagnation. Wow. 3 years of stagnation. Consumers hit a wall. Retail sales plunged below the level of 2021. Wow. This is pandemic levels. Not a good sign. Wall Street Silver wrote about it on X. And here's what they say. I guess let me share this with y'all. In response to Peter Stange here. While media tries to sugarcoat with comparisons to the lockdown era, the fact is consumers have been in recession territory for over a year. They kept spending to make up for inflation and lost real income, but now that's ending. Between falling spending, rising defaults, and inflation taking off again, that soft landing they promised is turning into a crash landing. Crash landing. Yeah. Soft landing, transitory inflation, transitory over the next decade. What's going on? No one can afford to shop. Half the world is night, says. Yeah, I feel it. Trust me. Yeah, it's getting rough out there, man. And I hear it from a lot of people that things are a little tight. Fuchi, good morning to you. Thank you so much. All right. Let's see here. Fed is to cut the U.S. rates in June. Risks skewed toward later move, according to a Reuters poll. Now the Fed rate, they're saying Fed rate cut in June. All right, we'll hold our breath. Why don't we? This is going to be a slow process. We'll see what actually happens. We're just going to have to wait and see. I mean, just yesterday they were saying at the end of the year, or last week, end of the year, not happening. But now they're saying June. It's always changing, but we'll see. Here's an interesting chart that I saw on X. It's a timeline chart showing which countries received the most U.S. foreign aid, going all the way back to 1946 to present time in this pretty interesting video. Let's take a look at that. And in 1946, it was the UK getting the most. And we'll watch as this evolves over time. I think we can all kind of guess where this goes. We don't need audio. So the UK is number one. We've got France, Germany, and Italy and Japan in the top, just behind that. As this evolves, here we are in the year 1955. UK still on top, followed by France, Germany, Italy, Japan, Taiwan. Now we've got Korea, South Korea coming up. By 1960, the 1960s, we had the UK, France, Italy, Germany, South Korea, Taiwan, with South Korea and India beginning to increase. By the late 60s, it was UK, France, South Korea, Vietnam. During the Israeli wars, it was United Kingdom. Vietnam became number one in the 70s. Now the order is in the early 70s, Vietnam, UK, South Korea, France, India. Late 70s, Vietnam, Korea, UK, France, India. Very interesting. And this is from the foreignassistance.gov, the U.S. Agency of International Development, and other sources here. By the 80s, Vietnam was on top, followed by Israel, South Korea, UK, France, and India. Interesting. Wow. In 1990, Israel was number one receiving foreign aid from the U.S. Oh, this is since 1946, so it's a cumulative amount of aid. So by 1995, Israel had received the most aid from the U.S., followed by Vietnam, Egypt, and South Korea, the UK, and France. Getting into the 2000s. Wow. In the 2000s, Israel's aid dwarfs Vietnam, Egypt, South Korea, and UK, who are also at the top of this list. Wow. I'm curious to see what this does here as we get closer to today. Here we're in 2010. Israel has 230 billion, Egypt 141 billion, Vietnam 134 billion, Afghanistan 120 billion by 2015. Continuing on here. This is insane. That's billions of dollars to all these countries. And let's see, what year do they go to? 2022, 2023. Here we go. So, let's go back, look at 2023, 2022, 2023, pause. So in 2023, the U.S. foreign aid values since 1946, Israel was at 263.6 billion, 10.5% of all aid given out by the U.S. Egypt, number two, 151.9 billion. Afghanistan, number three, 147.6 billion. Vietnam, number four, 136.6 billion. Iraq, 91.5 billion. South Korea, 88.1 billion. UK, 81.6 billion. Followed by India, Turkey, France, Pakistan, Italy, Greece, Taiwan, Germany, Jordan, Philippines, Ukraine, and Japan. Ukraine with 34.6 billion. In 2024, Ukraine would probably be at the top of this list or close to it. Very interesting. I thought this was quite a good graphic put out there by Eagle Eye, EEAGLI. So thank you to them for making that. It's very interesting. Shelly says everything is a lie. You look great. Thank you, Shelly. I appreciate that. Good morning, Vincent Chat. Cordova, good morning to you. And thank you for tuning in, Shelly, over on X. Very cool. I didn't know my X chat got filtered in through here. I didn't know that, but that's great. Thank you. All right. Onward. Let's see what we've got here. A win for freedom. The climate hoax is going down, they say. Here's the conservative brief with an interesting article. A win for freedom. Jim Jordan gloats after a bank deal blows to Biden climate. After a bank deal blow to Biden climate agenda. So, I'm going to read this by conservativebrief.com real quick. It's an interesting little story on how things are kind of unfolding here. House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan cheered the decision by some of America's and the world's biggest financial institutions to abandon a $68 trillion climate alliance that was founded by the United Nations and backed by the Biden administration. In a surprising turn of events on Thursday, JP Morgan Chase, the world's largest bank, and State Street Global Advisors, an institutional investor overseeing $3.5 trillion in assets, announced their withdrawal from the Climate Action 100 Plus investor group. Also, BlackRock, which is managing over $10 trillion in assets, significantly reduced its participation in the alliance, Fox News reported exclusively. Quote, "This is great news because you're supposed to make investment decisions based on just good common business sense, your fiduciary responsibility to your investors, not based on left-wing woke politics," Jordan told Fox News Digital. Quote, "So yeah, this is a win for America, a win for the economy, a win for Americans and investors, and more importantly, it's a win for freedom. The folks who are involved in these banks are smart people, successful people. They've done well. I think deep down, they know decisions should be based on the market, on principles of capitalism, not on politics." So I don't know, maybe we see some changes happening. I think maybe their whole plan kind of crumbles as things get more and more dire and people just say, yeah, we're tired of shooting ourselves in the foot. Maybe that's happening. We'll see. Onward. Hawaii is looking to introduce climate change fee to visitors. Flat fee will raise $68 million annually, charged at hotel check-in or vacation rental. I wonder if they're going to feed this into Airbnb and everything too. Oh my gosh, a climate change fee? People are going to stop going to Hawaii, and I think maybe that's what they want, right? I mean, look at what happened with Maui. Gosh, there's Maui's having trouble. People aren't able to build their houses back. That all burnt down in that conspiratorial fire situation. But it seems like this is going to decrease the amount of people willing to go to Hawaii. I know when I see this, I don't want to go to Hawaii. What about you? Climate change fee? Yeah, no, thank you. Good morning, Chris Large. Good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Fresh on, let's see here. The world's central bankers choose inflation. This is Wall Street Silver over here. We're going to get out of this. We're going to talk about much more. We're going to talk about the truckers and different things going on after we take a quick look at these financial stories. The Fed and all central banks have made a choice. They have decided 2024 will be rate cuts and back to higher inflation. Oh, gosh. We've got news from Home Depot here. Their sales have slid for the fifth quarter on weak housing demand. Not a good sign. I think that we may be just following the UK. We may just be following Germany and entering a technical recession here this year or next year, but it's coming. Let's face it, it's coming. Not good news coming from Home Depot there with their sales. That's for sure. I guess it depends on your area. Do you guys see a lot of houses going up? Are they selling? Are prices the same? Are they going down? Are they going up? I think here things are still kind of moving along. Prices are maybe went down a little bit, but things seem to still be going. People are building. But I think it has reduced a little bit. I'd have to look at the statistics to be sure, but just from driving around, I could tell you things still seem to be moving along a bit. But what about you? What say you? And if there's anybody who builds out there, I mean, are you building the same amount? Are you cutting back? What's going on? And what state are you in? curious, you can always contact me on my website. You can email me or on X. Hey, thank you, Alex, for the donation. I appreciate that. Good morning, fam. Good morning. And good to see you too, Naz Pudnut. Naz, I don't know how to pronounce your name, but good to see you. Thank you. All right. And thank you, Lisa, for the donation as well. I appreciate that. Good to see you. Sorry I couldn't make it yesterday, Lisa. I am so exhausted. I actually sat down in the studio here and I was going to make a video, and I started getting all my stuff together and kind of laying it all out. And I just took a deep breath and I was like, I'm tired. And I went to bed very early last night. I am just sore. I am sore. I'm exhausted, and I need to keep that ball rolling. So I was like, I need to get my rest. I apologize, but you know, my rest comes first, unfortunately. But I'll be here to do the morning show at the very least, and I may do an extra video tonight. We'll see. Anyway, let's get on with it. Truckers for Trump. A lot of people are saying it's massive. New York is going to starve. There's a lot of what they call fear porn on YouTube and everywhere, where New York is going to run out of food in 2 days. I saw one title, and I'm, you know, you never know, and it's always good to be cautious. But there's this Truckers for Trump situation going on. A lot of truckers are posting videos or just making the statements that they're not going to deliver to New York City. And I think that it is important. I think that it is big. I think that is going to have an impact. I don't know if it's going to be as big of an impact as, you know, things are going to be bare this week in New York City. But I think that it's important because it shows that people are deciding what they're doing and deciding what they support. And this could be the beginning of something much bigger. And that's something that I kind of speculated as this began to unfold. And I got a lot of flack for it too. And I'm just, you know, kind of hypothesizing, is this going to be something that's kind of long term? Is it going to be very short term? And I tend to lean towards the idea of things taking time to develop. But I think it's an important puzzle piece to it all. And I don't think it's just truckers. I think that at the point at which things really change or really have an impact is from people like me and people like you who aren't necessarily truckers, but everybody else who's so fed up. If you look at the sentiment around the trucker situation, yes, a lot of truckers are upset, but even more so, the people following these truckers are upset, and they make decisions too. They decide, I'm not buying Bud Light. They decide, I'm not shopping at Target. They decide, I'm not going to Amazon to order my things anymore to the best of my ability. And they do all these things. And that has a massive impact. I mean, look at the mainstream media is completely collapsing and shutting down left and right because people are participating. So that is the real big impact. Truckers can have a huge impact as well. There's no doubt about that. But let's listen to this video that I saw by Wendy Bell Radio on TikTok, which, by the way, I just can't get into TikTok. I'm sorry. It's too much for me.
We're on the cusp of an American revolution. It's already here. The battle lines are drawn, and unfortunately, there are some unsuspecting people who don't understand what is at stake because they have not journeyed beyond the benches of their camp. They don't see what we see. They drink in the propaganda and have been fooled by lies from those who just wish to control us. And this is how, back in the 1760s, things started for what would become these United States. We were 13 colonies. We were being taxed by Britain. Britain owned us. They ruled us. They made the decisions, and they were taxing the colonies on all sorts of things, but not representing the colonies. And enough of the colonists had enough. And it started with sporadic acts of violence. Britain pushed on the Stamp Act on the colonies, taxing all of the publications, a lot of the things that the colonists needed, and they pushed back. The Stamp Act was repealed. Next, they passed the Townshend Act, all sorts of other new taxes on the colonists. That led to the Boston Massacre. Townshend Acts were repealed, all those taxes repealed, but then they left the tax on tea as a symbol of Britain's control over the colonies, and that led to the Boston Tea Party. Britain closed the Boston Harbor. That led to the First Continental Congress, then the Second Continental Congress, then the Declaration of Independence, then the Constitution, and the formation of the three branches of government. What we are seeing right now, ladies and gentlemen, is exactly what happened in 1760. In those years, an 8-year revolutionary war, so that we could assert our independence from tyrannical rule. Well, we're back in tyranny, ladies and gentlemen. What will be your Boston Tea Party? What will be your Boston Massacre? What will be your line in the sand? And then what will your role be in it?
I think it's a lot of events, and she's obviously trying to like have people rise up, and that's not my intent. I'm a much more of a reserved approach and a sensible approach of things and peaceful and all that. And not saying that she's calling for violence or anything, but there is a cumulative effect to the things that build up. And she's right about that. Just one thing after another. And the Boston Tea Party is an interesting one. The tea tax was actually very low, but I guess the fury and which led to the Boston Tea Party, I guess that was just, like she said, the symbolic nature of it. Because boy, the taxes we face today are many, many times more than what they saw on their tea back then. But the truckers, I mean, it's an interesting thing. I've been looking at a lot of different videos coming out from truckers. They're still putting them out every day, more and more, just saying, yeah, I'm not doing it. We had that CEO saying he's not dealing with New York. A lot of people made a good point, though, that a lot of people don't deal with New York anyway, and that it was not going to have an effect. I don't necessarily agree with that. And the reason why is because the truckers who do deliver to New York are very good at what they do. They understand how to navigate New York. And you can't just throw an inexperienced truck driver into the Big Apple and have them pick up the slack overnight. So one truck driver does make an impact on these things. And I think we're going to see a cumulative effect of that happening over the years, and especially this year as these things trend and people jump on board. So we'll see, though. You know, if you guys have information about truckers talking about it, if you're a trucker and you want to talk about it, that's great. Actually, I wonder if I could pull the video up real quick. I didn't put it in my notes. I just remembered right now. Glenn Beck had a few truckers call into his show and talked to them, which I appreciate. Glenn Beck on the truckers. I wonder. Oh gosh, I don't have the video on hand here. Maybe this. Here we go. I spoke to truckers who are boycotting the New York City, New York City over the state's decision to charge Donald Trump $355 million for a victimless crime. In quotes, crime. Their message was clear. Let's watch the first 3 minutes of this where he talks to several truckers.
One of the best things I have heard in a long time, and I'd love to talk to truckers. If you're a trucker and you're going to participate in this, I'm not going to ask your name. Just call us up. If you're one of the truckers that are refusing now to drive to New York City after the $355 million fraud ruling on Donald Trump, a conservative social media influencer and trucker who goes by Chicago Ray posted a video clip in which he claims some of his colleagues are going to stop making deliveries to New York City to protest the ruling. I've been on the radio talking to drivers the past hour, and I've talked to about 10 drivers, and they're going to start refusing loads to New York City starting on Monday. So does that include any drivers that are listening to me now? Rob, you're a truck driver in Pennsylvania. Do you deliver much to New York City?
Well, I delivered about a month ago. I delivered 8 times to the 5 boroughs.
Okay, and are you going to continue to do it?
No, sir. I've already told my dispatch that there, under no circumstances will I be crossing that bridge again. I won't go into New York State, much less the city.
So, what was dispatch's reaction to that? Do you get any heat?
No, I actually got another one. It seems like about between 20 and 25% of our drivers have refused to go into take any loads into New York State anymore.
Now, will that make a difference, 25%?
The thing is I work for a multinational company, huge company, and they will resort to using outside drivers and paying more.
Roger in Alabama. Hello, Roger.
Yeah. Hey, I drive into the city probably a couple times a week, delivering fresh seafood from the Gulf, from Louisiana and Alabama, Mississippi, and for me to drive into New York City, it's a pain, but it pays well. But so I'm not going to do that anymore. And as far as being able to recoup the loss for I will be able to find loads going anywhere. Finding loads. I own my own truck and I own my own trailer, and I book my own freight. So finding loads is easy. What some of the other drivers might be talking about is the drivers that are coming around that have no experience, that are willing to drive into the city, who will have a terrible time. I mean, New York City, if a bunch of independent truck drivers start doing this, New York City will feel a pinch real quick, but it really won't hurt the trucking industry, at all, because there's such a demand for drivers.
Right.
And experienced drivers who are independent, own their own truck and own their own trailer and run their business well, they won't have a problem with this.
Yeah, I got to tell you, if you don't
survive the fuel problem from a couple of years ago, we can survive this, and it will hurt New York City.
I have to tell you, if you don't know, if you've never driven in New York City, especially with an 18-wheeler, you're screwed. I mean, it is really tough to get around. I don't know how you guys do it in New York. I really don't.
Well, some of the new and experienced guys, they can't. That's just it. They cannot do it. They just can't. They're crashing into bridges and tearing up the neighborhood. They just can't do it. I've known some people that had 5 and 10 years experience that have trouble driving through the city. It's not easy, but.
All right, very interesting. Thanks to Glenn Beck there with those interviews. Fantastic. I like hearing more information, and it's sparse. There's not like a plethora of data just available at our fingertips on this. It's something you've kind of got to dig and search around for. So if you guys have information on it, or you're a truck driver, you could tag me on X, contact me by email on my website, or leave a comment. However, I take the comments with a grain of salt, because anybody could say they're a truck driver, right? But what can I do? I appreciate hearing from everybody and all of your thoughts nonetheless. And onward here, let's talk about Laura Loomer. Laura Loomer, someone asks on X here, who thinks Laura Loomer is doing some serious investigative journalism work in Panama on the mass illegal immigration across the southern border? And we have a clip here. Let's take a look at that. I apologize. You know what? She's just interviewing about the situation, figuring out the process, what's going on there. Lena Vid says, as a woman and going on this treacherous and dangerous journey, hats off to her, solid American patriot. Figuring out what's going on there. I don't think I had audio on that. I apologize. I'm going to just keep on pushing forward, though. People are talking about the amount of Chinese immigrants coming through the southern border it's just increasing dramatically. Here we have Wendy Patterson saying there's something weird going on with several groups of the Chinese men crossing over. They set up a camp just off of a highway in California. Marine Vet at Drummy46 on X said, why so many Chinese? This is out of control. 20,000 immigrant increase since October 2023, 450 fiscal year 2021, 4,000% CBP sources, according to Fox News here. 20,000 Chinese migrant border encounters. Wow. So it's just increasing like crazy. Absolutely crazy. So we're keeping our eye on it. But yeah, I think that a lot of different people are taking advantage of the border being wide open, and I think that maybe some kind of plan is being unhatched to where a lot of people were notified to take advantage of it. Maybe it's from the Biden administration, even, who knows? But I mean, I think the message is clear. The border's open. Come on over is the message by Biden, and the illegals would be happy to vote for Biden if they were able to vote. And maybe they will be. I think a lot of illegal votes were cast before, and at least the attempt may be made again. That's the quite concerning part, as well as terrorists coming through from various countries. We're not just talking about China and Mexico. We have all of the South American countries. We have all the other countries, Middle Eastern countries. I mean, it's horrible, and there already have been terrorists identified at the border. So it's a horrible situation, not to mention the human trafficking, drug trafficking, and everything else that happens across the borders. It's just horrendous. And thank you, Cordova, for the shout out there. And Army Mom, thank you so much. Onward here. Very little to no border patrol on site. The migrant flow erupts in California following Texas Governor Greg Abbott's strong stance against invasion. Gosh. The state of our country is just horrendous. The amount of crime, especially in our cities, is horrendous. Clown World, I don't know when this happened, but Clown World on X posted this story about a Girl Scouts stand being robbed. A Girl Scout stand. She's just selling cookies, for Pete's sake, and gets robbed in front of a store. I don't know what kind of store this is. This must be, I don't know, like a Kroger or something. That kid just grabbed the cookies and ran away. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous, man. The crime, and that is just one simple crime that's not too horrendous per se compared to a lot of the crimes we see of police officers being ganged up on and beat up and different things like this, and shootings and whatnot. But I think it still is something to acknowledge that a young man just decides, I'm going to steal Girl Scout cookies from a Girl Scout. Oh my gosh. That is just, it's not like they're not hurting anybody, so that's good. But I mean, just could you imagine ruining that poor girl's day and her mother's day, that family's day? Just that really would get someone going. You just steal from them and run away. That is so rude. And the fact that people are just okay with acting on that and with no concern over other people's day is just horrendous. And we see it more and more. This next story really is odd. A human leg was found on subway tracks in New York City, in the Bronx, according to police. The leg was found on Saturday between the 167th and 170th Street stations along the roadbed where the number 4 train operates. Officers responded to this site around 1 p.m. The NYPD said the leg was removed and the investigation is ongoing. A train conductor initially found the appendage during a sweep conducted the morning after a snowstorm hit parts of New York, managing to halt the train before running over the leg. What happened? New York City, man. You can't make this stuff up. Army Mom says truckers are saying it's $100 to cross the bridge. Yeah, I heard like $79 or something like that. But yeah, about $100 just to get in there. So I think that even before this protest really kicked off, a lot of people didn't want to go to deliver to New York anyway. But regardless, I think that it's still something we need to watch here, and I think it will have an impact. I really do. Every single thing has an impact. Also, I don't know if it was on Glenn Beck or somewhere else, but one of the guys says that people that even live in New York City or around that area, they get in their trucks and they drive away from the city. They don't even want to work there. So that's just to show you how frustrating it is for some people to even work that city as far as trucking goes. Okay, I'm kind of jumping around here as the time ticks. This is kind of a scary story, and my last intent is to cause alarm, but I think everything needs to be looked at. Like I said, I don't think things are going to be collapsing overnight, but I do think that although that's a possibility, it's possible things can collapse very quickly, right? At any time in any society, and probably now more than ever. But I think that things are going to be slow rolled. That's just my gut feeling, in my opinion. However, that doesn't mean I'm not preparing for anything that may happen. Here's Game Tech Politics on X.com saying, I've been warning of this very thing. And he shares this post by Jack Straw. Jack Straw posted this that was someone sent to him. It says, hi, I wanted to share this with you. My husband came home this morning with something he received for the first time ever in 23 years of law enforcement. They're preparing for the blackout. And they attached this document from this is New York State Homeland Security and Emergency Services Emergency Management. And it's information about communication network outages, radio, cellular, et cetera, et cetera. It's a little blurry here. I'm doing my best. They have a section on power outages, transportation interruptions, healthcare facility service interruptions, food and water distribution centers, cascading impacts, civil unrest. It goes on. The next page here says space weather response, DHSES executive checklist, safety and security, health and medical, etc., etc. The checklist says prepare, starts as soon as forecast information identifies potential for space weather event, and people follow the space weather very closely, and I follow them as well. They say we could have a Carrington level event, right? A Carrington level event would wipe out all of our satellites. It would shut the grid down. All this stuff, which is I presume to be true. Everything seems to be true about that. And they say it happened a couple hundred years ago or longer than that. I don't know the exact date off the top of my head. I apologize. But that's one thing they've been saying. A Carrington level event could disrupt things. And actually, we had a solar storm about 2 months ago that impacted the southern United States, and it interfered with radio transmissions a bit. That's about it. But we had another one after that as well that impacted, I think, Australia. And this is caused by basically solar flares on the sun that disrupt our radio waves and whatnot, and can have an impact similar to that of an EMP if directed directly at Earth. That's what they say. Of course, we see all this kind of trending over the last few months. And then we had the US come out and say, Russia's deploying space weapons. They're going to destroy our satellites. I think we have an update from Russia on that. They came out and said they do not support space weaponry. Do I have that here? Putin says Russia is against the deployment of nuclear weapons in space, reported by the Insider paper. So what are they talking about? Is this just baloney? Is it fear-mongering? Is it trying to cause some kind of panic? Is it the cover-up for some kind of false flag? Who knows, man? But it's suspicious to me. Very suspicious to me. I think I missed something here. Thank you, Forrest, for the donation. I appreciate that. Oh my gosh, my stomach. I don't know if you guys heard that. I think I haven't eaten anything. I apologize. Let's move on. Moving on here. Democrats' new bill, Courage to Serve Act, would allow illegals to serve in the U.S. military and then get citizenship. Yikes. Are you serious? The Courage to Serve Act. Maybe that's why all the Chinese people are coming over the border. Yeah, they right here. Does that include some of the 40,000 Chinese that have come illegally in the past year? The Roman Empire hired foreigners to fight for them too. Turns out they had no loyalty to the empire. They turned against Rome. bringing down the Roman Empire. All Biden has to do is shut down the border. Wow, that's a horrible idea. But they can't get Americans to serve. I mean, they're having very hard time recruiting. They're even lowering the requirements to get in by slashing requirements. But here we go. Insider paper says that Hillary Clinton claims Trump will put U.S. out of NATO if he wins in November. He means what he says. And the response, like Vince Langman on X says, another great reason to vote for President Trump in November. And that seems to be the general sentiment. I think people view NATO as extremely corrupt. And that is part of the reason why they want to see Trump be elected. Ironically, I mean, how out of touch do you have to be? I guess people fall for this stuff and still support Hillary and all these people. I guess they're just still in a very, very deep slumber. It doesn't matter how hard you shake some people, they don't wake up. Insider paper, the U.S. vetoes, this is just breaking this morning, the U.S. vetoes UN truce vote as Israel pounds Gaza. The United States vetoed a UN Security Council resolution on Tuesday calling for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza with Israel, continuing to bombard the territory as concern grew about the growing humanitarian crisis. So they don't want, this isn't a peace deal, by the way. This is just a ceasefire, okay? It's just stop firing for a minute, please. Okay, everybody stop shooting for a minute. That's all it is. It's not like this is over, peace, stop. Which we know they wouldn't go for that, but just even a ceasefire. It says here, global powers trying to navigate a way out of the spiraling crisis have come up short with so far fruitless push by mediators to reach a truce. The two rival ceasefire proposals put forward at the UN. On Tuesday, Washington vetoed the first proposal drafted by Algeria, which demanded an immediate humanitarian ceasefire and unconditional release of all hostages kidnapped in the October 7th attacks. Washington's ambassador to the UN, Linda Thomas Greenfield, called the vote wishful and irresponsible, saying it would put sensitive negotiations in jeopardy. With U.S. President Joe Biden facing increasing pressure to dial down support for Israel, Washington has put forward an alternative draft resolution on Gaza. That text, seen by AFP, emphasizes, quote, support for a temporary ceasefire in Gaza as soon as practicable, and expresses concern for Rafah. According to a diplomatic source, the draft stands little chance of being adopted in its current form and risks a Russian veto. So the international community cannot come together on this, and that's just the same story we've been hearing with this conflict. Absolutely insane. Army Mom says protests in New York over Julian Assange. Is that right? Do we have protests today? Is this trending? What's going on? Breaking. Julian Assange High Court case sees large numbers attend to support him. People have attended from throughout the world, from Australia to Germany to Japan. The people believe in freedom of press. The people believe in the importance of journalism. The people believe in free speech. That's a post on X by Sulaiman Ahmed, an investigative journalist. Wow, we're going to have to keep our eye on that. Thank you so much, Army Mom, for the tip. Army Mom, beware of Girl Scouts. I used to be one. Hilarious. All right, let's look at what Flynn is saying about the current state of things. General Michael Flynn here. Let's see. Mr. Flynn, General Mike Flynn, it's clear that the Biden administration despises Netanyahu and wants to see him lose. And it is also very clear this White House is willing to risk the survival of Israel over their relationship with designated terrorist groups and states. Ooh. Iran wins, Israel loses. The U.S. suffers another defeat in the Middle East. There is nothing new under the sun. And this is in response to the UN Security Council and what we just talked about, the ceasefire. So Same. Nothing new under the sun. Onward here, skipping around a little bit. I'm running out of time, so I'm going to save some of this or not cover it this morning. May post it on X later, may do a video later or whatever, but please do me a favor and hit the like and subscribe and do all that. I appreciate it. And follow me on X if you're on there. Follow me on X. There's my name right there if you want to search it out. Appreciate it. All right. The U.S. is to announce a major sanctions package on Russia. And I wanted to check this out because this is just another instance of us shooting us in our foot, I believe. The Insider paper writes, the United States will announce new sanctions on Russia on Friday over the death in prison of opposition leader Alexei Navalny. Coinciding with the 2-year anniversary of Moscow's invasion of Ukraine, the White House said, quote, at President Biden's discretion, we will be announcing a major sanctions package on Friday of this week to hold Russia accountable for what happened to Mr. Navalny. National Security Council spokesman John Kirby told reports Tuesday. And my thinking is this going to actually do anything to Russia, or is it really just going to be us shooting ourselves in the foot? That's my concern. Yeah. Anyway, Putin says Russia is against deployment of nuclear space weapons. I'm not surprised to hear that. That's in response to all these rumors that Russia is going to destroy the satellites. They have space nukes. Russia's space nukes are going to destroy the world. And maybe there's something, maybe there is something in space. Maybe there are a bunch of weapons. Maybe something's going to happen. And then yesterday we just covered the story of that satellite that is going to be entering into the U.S. Atmosphere. They say, oh, there's a satellite. It's not controlled and it's going to it's going to crash to Earth. We don't know where, we don't know when, but soon. It's like, that's weird. And then we've been seeing various things burn up in the atmosphere that are quite unexplained as of late, the last few years. So what is going on in space? That's the question. I think there's more to the story than meets the eye and that we see in our headlines here. That's for sure. That's just my opinion there. What do you guys think about what's going on in space, man? It's fishy, I tell you. Energy, several movies come to mind. All right. Let's take a look here a little further. Ukraine military aid delayed over NATO funding row. NATO's having trouble here, and I think this relates to Bulgaria. Yeah. A Bulgarian pledge to deliver 100 Soviet-era BTR-60 armored personnel carriers to Ukraine is facing delays over Sofia's request for NATO to pay the transportation costs. They're fighting over money and equipment, and they're having quite the hard time funding through NATO. Oh, good Lord. Not helping the situation for Ukraine. Polish farmers are blocking defense aid from reaching Kyiv. RT.com updated us on this. Agriculturalists have been staging protests at the border for months, decrying the flow of cheap Ukrainian produce into the country. We also saw grain being dumped out in protest as well. And so that is continuing. And we had a coup in Africa. Coup leaders dissolve government in Africa. An African state, rather. Here's the article from RT.com. There was no explanation given for the action, but authorities have said a new administration would be installed. Guinea's military rules have dissolved the West African nation's government, which had been in power since July 2022. The presidency spokesman, General Amara Kamara, announced the decision on Monday without providing any specific reasons. The presidential decree, read by General Kamara in a pre-recorded video published on social media, said a new government would be installed, but did not specify when that would happen. Quote, the government is dissolved. The management of current affairs will be ensured by the directors of cabinet, the secretaries general, and the deputy secretaries general until the establishment of a new government, he said in the presence of around 20 uniformed soldiers. They write, Guinea has been under military rule since September 2021, when soldiers overthrew President Alpha Condé. I don't think that's how I pronounce that, by the way. I apologize. who had ruled for more than a decade. Condé's election in 2010 marked the country's first democratic transfer of power since its independence from France in 1958. The Economic Community of West Africa States has demanded that the coup leaders in Conakry, as well as those in power in Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, hold elections within a reasonable time frame and restore democratic order. We see a lot of this happening in Africa as of late, and I think it relates to the entire global situation we see with the West as well. A lot of these Western countries, Europe, France, example, etc., they rely on Africa in order to power their countries, literally. So it's concerning to see the destabilization there. It has a ripple effect in the world. That's for sure. Jimmy Hoffa. More fear porn, Army Mom says. Yeah, it seems to be a trend, huh? All right, moving on. All right. I think we'll stop here, folks. We'll leave it at that. Curious to hear your thoughts on any of this stuff and more. If there's something I didn't cover that you would like to see covered, you could always hit me up on x.com at readyf4any. And thank you all for tuning in, and subscribe if you're new. I appreciate that. Follow me on Rumble for content that I'm not putting other places that may be a little spicier, etc. And for even more exclusives, you can find me on pilled.net. If you're part of that community on Pilled, follow me over there. I'll be doing long form live streams. I look at my notes. I do research. Those are exclusive only to Pilled. And also I'll do other content here or there exclusive to Pilled, as well as exclusives for Rumble that I'm not posting other places. So thank you for everybody who supported me today. Forrest, Princess, Army Mom, RPG, thank you so much, all of you, for your support. And also those of you over there on Pilled, I appreciate you all. Make sure you hit the likes, hit the shares, and subscribes, and all that. I'll be live again tomorrow morning, 8:30 a.m. Pacific time. And also, if anything happens, if I want to make a video about something else, I'll publish that as well. Or I may go live if there's breaking news. So turn on your notifications, please, if you would. And everybody take care. God bless and Godspeed.
We do a little trolling. It's called We Do a Little Trolling.
2024 may be the year of a black swan event.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, "I'm from the government and I'm here to help."